Let's begin in Australia. Warnings from the United Nations that one of the world's most famous natural wonders, the Great Barrier Reef, should be placed onto a list of World Heritage Sites that are in danger. This is according to the UN's cultural organisation, UNESCO. Now, scientists have long warned that ocean temperatures are warming. That is adversely affecting the coral ecosystem. The Australian government has responded rather furiously, saying they're going to oppose any eventual decision by UNESCO to place the reef on the danger list. Chris McGrath is an environmental lawyer who's written extensively about these matters, and he joins us now from Brisbane in Australia. Chris, thanks for coming on the programme. Now, we've long reported, and our listeners will know, that the reef is suffering stress. The government says it's furious, but how surprising is it for UNESCO to come out and make this statement in the way that they have?
Well, look, it shouldn't be surprising. The reef is in critical danger. It's suffered multiple bleachings since 98, 2002. Really, this decision should have been made 15 years ago with the state of information we had then. There's been a long delay while the World Heritage Committee really tried to leave climate change issues out of its ambit and leave that to be dealt with under the different framework that now we call the Paris Agreement and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So World Heritage is catching up now and recognising that it can't continue to ignore climate change.
Why the fury of the national government? Because, in a sense, climate change, we always talk about it as a global issue. Here is, I suppose, a claim that says there is a national responsibility. Is that why the Australian government is so exercised by this?
No, not at all. It's really politics at an Australian level. The Australian government is just extremely embarrassed about this and also very exposed internationally because it's continuing to push for really, unlimited use of fossil fuels. It's left out really by the UK and other G7 members that are now pushing to, really curb and get to net zero by 2050. Australia's out on a limb pursuing its fossil fuel sector, and these, findings that the Great Barrier Reef is in danger are really embarrassing for them. So it wants to ignore them and shoot the messenger, really. That's what it's doing with attacking UNESCO.
There's also an element, isn't there, that they're accusing the Chinese of being behind this. In the background, of course, geopolitical tensions between China and Australia. China happens to be the chair of has the rotating chair of UNESCO as well. Is that also, in your view, deflection, or do you think there's some truth to that?
Oh, look, I think it's complete deflection. To the extent that China is playing a role in this, well, good on them. It's, this is an important issue that needs to be, these alarm bells need to be sounded regularly. And if China's playing a role, it's actually a good thing, not.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, okay, good to get your opinion on that. Just tell us what you think the government can do nationally, because it also suggests, this report, that it's not only sort of water temperature, it's also water quality. Now, that would seem to be something that a national government can actually control, because, listeners might have sympathy, kind of think, well, the Australian government, you're expecting them to save the barrier reef, and yet it's being threatened by a global thing for which we're all responsible. Are there things it can do at a local level that it isn't doing?
Yeah, look, you're perfectly right. And water quality is something that we've been focusing on for 15, 20 years. There's been a lot of effort by Australia along the coastline where the Great Barrier Reef is to try and improve water quality from sugarcane runoff particularly. So there's been a lot of effort like that. But what we've found with repeated bleaching events is it really doesn't matter how healthy your reef is. Like, building resilience is a good thing. Like, being healthy is a good thing. You know that as a person. But if someone walks up to you and shoots you in the chest with a shotgun, it doesn't matter how healthy you are, you're going to die. So mass coral bleaching is like a shotgun blast to the chest of the Great Barrier Reef, and we're doing it repeatedly. So building the background health of the reef in terms of water quality is a good thing, but it doesn't save it from climate change. And that's the big thing that Australia doesn't want to acknowledge.
Pretty vivid metaphor you use there, Chris. Many thanks indeed. On the line from Brisbane, Chris McGrath, environmental lawyer who's long been involved with issues to do with the Great Barrier Reef.